Hi, Karen.
Steve, hello, hi.
Hi, I wanted to talk about vulnerability today, and I'll be interested on your take on an aspect of that. But I suppose just to kick off, I think a great deal is spoken and written about leaders needing to get comfortable with showing some vulnerability. And I would support that. It's essential to building more authentic, deep, and meaningful relationships that are characterized by trust and respect and empathy. However, it's not easy to be vulnerable, and it takes courage, as I think it often requires us to take a risk. And it's not like clicking a switch where we can go from being closed to open, guarded to vulnerable, just because the situation or I suppose the modern world of work requires it of us, particularly if our experience of work has been one where vulnerability and empathy has been maybe suppressed or punished rather than valued and rewarded. And that might have led us to adopting certain behaviours and mindsets and coping mechanisms, and to wear a bit of a fixed mask, that fixed work mask to keep us safe. So it could be tough to open up and let go of what might have served us well, and to learn a new leadership habit. How much of ourselves do we reveal, and in what situations and circumstances? And what are the risks and the opportunities that demonstrating vulnerability provides? So I often talk to leaders and teams about what might be the benefits of showing more vulnerability, and what's the small next step you could take. And that's fine. But I'd be interested in your take on what happens when we express some vulnerability and it's really not received well. We begin to get punished for it. What's your take on that, and what do you think we can do?
So I think, first of all, that when we've taken that risk and we've taken a chance and we've opened ourselves up and we've shown ourselves and it isn't received, it can be very painful, or to different degrees, some level of pain for the person that has taken that risk. And the first piece then is an opportunity to practice self-compassion, which is an understanding of, if I open myself up and I share some of my vulnerabilities and it's greeted with condemnation or judgment or ridicule, depending on what situation and with whom, there will be some level of suffering for me, particularly having taken that risk. So I can, but then I know this is an opportunity for me to offer self-compassion, first of all, by understanding that part of myself that feels probably quite sad and maybe even quite scared of having opened up and that it wasn't well received. So I can start that practice by really hearing and listening to that part of myself that's feeling that kind of quite jittery, or however it might be showing up for me in my body. And then I can offer the kind of support that part of me would like to hear. So I can congratulate and acknowledge the part of me that took a risk for taking that risk. And if you like, celebrate that willingness to take a chance. And can also support that part by saying that whilst that particular person may not have been in a place themselves to offer that acceptance, that vulnerable part of me really want to receive, that doesn't mean that others in other situations wouldn't be able to meet me and understand where I am, and wouldn't see my opening up as an opportunity and an invitation and as an encouragement for them to also open up and come out as a human being but nevertheless, that is definitely a time when I need to receive much self-compassion. So fortunately, that is my practice. So I'm either winning in the sense that I'm meeting the other person and then I am receiving from them acceptance, or if that doesn't happen, that's a nudge and an invitation for me to give to myself self-compassion. So it's a win either way.
Yeah, that's a great perspective. And reflecting on what you said there, that idea of, offering somebody a present, but they might not be ready to receive it. They might reject it. They might not want to unwrap it, but they might want to come back to it at a later point. And often that's the unseen thing. I think where I've expressed vulnerability and it's not been rewarded in the moment, there is sometimes that leap of faith where that might have prompted something that might have been a surprise to that person. They might initially have been guarded or defensive in that situation, but that doesn't necessarily mean it doesn't have a legacy of positivity, and recognizing, not being arrogant about it, but recognizing I might not see that legacy, I might not see that led to some reflection or some other work. So I think there's something about being human about it means sometimes taking a risk, and vulnerability and courage are two sides of the same coin, aren't they? I just don't see how we can be one without the other. And
they always go together.
Yeah, and we can feel a bit exposed. So I think there's something about looking at small steps. I think when I'm working with leaders, there's something about, if you've got a mask, and we use that analogy, it's not suddenly saying, well, I'm currently at a number 1 with vulnerability. I'm not confident with it. And it's not about saying, well, I'm going to go from number 1 to number 10. It might be, well, if you're at number 1 now, what does number 2 look like? What could that experience be like? What could the benefits of expressing some vulnerability and demonstrating it be? What would be the next step and the step after that? So it doesn't take away the risk, of course, but there's something just about recognizing it's situational and making some good judgments about that, and not going from 1 to 10, if that feels a bit of a scary place.
Definitely, it's about choosing the kind of vulnerability that is shared, particularly for those who are new to working with expressing their humanity, expressing their authenticity, and expressing their vulnerability. It's normally a good idea to start with what we call in the coaching trade the baby steps.
Yeah. Well, I hope that's conversations of use to people. I think it's been helpful to reflect on vulnerability, and I think a lot is said at the moment about it, vulnerability and authenticity. So I hope we've prompted and offered something of use to our viewers today.
Thank you. Good to talk.
Okay, bye.